Imagine a master-planned community with abundant choices. When it comes to living well, you'll find a wide selection of new homes in the Woodlands. From townhomes, condominiums, casual patio homes, edgy urban living, classic American architecture, villas, magnificent custom homes. Come home to the Woodland.
Something let us get through we shouldn't have.
The place is Mexico, just across the Texas border.
4.5 years of planning, preparation, and training, and 1,000 years of science and mathematics, and the projected dreams and hopes of not only a nation but a world.
We are at present 40 miles from the Rio Grande, but any place and all places can be.
Because of the following special one-hour broadcast, programs previously scheduled at this time will not be seen.
The Twilight Zone.
Mexico is speeding the bird. 8, 7.
On May 2nd, 1965, the promise of a global commercial communications satellite system, Early Bird, was presented for the first time by an intercontinental live television transmission. The first satellite ever to maintain constant 24-hour communication. At this altitude, its speed exactly matched the rotation of the Earth. Thus, the satellite remained stationed above the equator, directly south of the United States.
Today, Early Bird and its new owners Comsat are proving the potential it can eventually improve world understanding more than any single space achievement.
Allowing people around the world to share their culture.
Social and economic development in all entire continents.
The remarkable change in human life.
Invisible infrastructure of our world. Launched the satellite networking industry. Interconnected global society.
We are witnessing a revolution in modern warfare.
Largest air defense missile training range in the free world.
Each Wednesday, the McGregor Missile Range is open to the public.
El Paso is El Paso, and psychologically we feel like we're in a world of our own here.
A mountain village held back in time by its remoteness, and suddenly intruded upon by the 20th century.
Feeling. It's like I didn't belong here. It's kind of a gap opening.
The satellite is Early Bird, one of many contributions to space defense and industry of Hughes Aircraft Company.
Howard Hughes has died while on an emergency flight from Mexico to Texas.
A place he had avoided ever since the 1930s. Managed to avoid it this time, too.
He looked almost dead when he boarded the airplane. You know, his eyes were wide open, and there was really very little life, if any, left in him.
The hospital spokesman announced they had confirmed the dead person is Howard Hughes, and that he died of chronic renal failure.
Sources claim the reclusive billionaire died at 1:27 p.m., just as the plane crossed the U.S. border.
It is here that the factual history of Howard Hughes will come to an end.
Who controls this ultra-high-tech development facility almost 50 years after Hughes' passing? Well, the ownership history is almost as complicated as the stuff that they work on here.
Hughes was in the business of turning science fiction into reality.
The world's largest satellite service network.
Information and digital data.
Spacecraft, missile Cadillac of the defense electronics.
For the warfighter of the future.
With vacant land, planned communities, shopping development.
Creating entire cities.
Laser mapping, fiber optics, nanotechnology, virtual reality, replicated man-made structure in the history of mankind.
Hundreds of the best biologists and geneticists.
Its mission to unlock the secrets of life.
This is one of the most unusual places on Earth.
Just east of El Paso, unique hollows, or huecos, capture and hold precious rainwater.
This place has a cultural history that goes back 10,000, maybe 12,000 years. And there's reasons for that. When the rest of the desert is dry, Hueco Tanks has water. This actually is, in a very real sense, an oasis in the desert.
This kind of dynamic, fluctuating environment is what we think
is really essential to drive the very beginnings of the most primitive forms of life.
Jack Shostak, a Howard Hughes Medical Institute investigator, has been working to understand how the first cell membranes arose.
Well, what we're trying to do is learn something about the origin of life by actually trying to build an early cell or protocell.
The blueprints for a cell are the DNA. The cell is really like a city because there is this sort of inner organization of a cell. It's just like a city. So any mistake in the blueprints, and that city and all the other cities that are built are going to have that mistake.
The Woodlands, for anyone who's been to Texas, I call this Sim City, but for real.
Upscale shops, thousands of businesses.
It's like building a city with a lot of forethought, but instead of a traditional government, you've got one owner, Howard Hughes.
Imagine sitting naked, unwashed, in a room covered with filth and debris, living like the worst lunatic in history, managing, nonetheless, to control presidents of the United States, to work your will on major corporations, to buy an entire state and run it practically single-handed. No one's ever done anything like that, at least not since Nero.
They asked me to get friendly with Howard Hughes, and guess who he's got with him? All CIA guys. That's his cabinet. That's who's running his company. So I knew that. I report to New York. New York says, get close to this idiot.
There are many people today who see this exact same alliance, CIA, Mafia, as the alliance which very probably had a significant role in the assassination of John Kennedy.
Lee Harvey Oswald came in here and watched a movie called War is Hell before being apprehended by the Dallas police.
Oswald was apprehended while sitting right here.
In combat, there are really two battles going on at the same time. A war within a war, so to speak. The point is, I think, that a man will not be strong enough to face any really critical situation unless he has the right equipment.
This is Hughes' handwriting. It's right there. This is his in with the Defense Department. It tells all about it. This is when he tried to seek a longer Vietnam War.
So he tried to seek Howard Hughes.
Hughes wanted his aides to seek a longer Vietnam War.
The TOW missile has two rocket motors. One to launch it, the other to accelerate it in flight.
And he can recoup the losses in the helicopter division. Now this is documented, authenticated all the way.
Phoenix is the world's most technologically advanced.
The Chaparral system uses an infrared guidance system to
medium-range air intercept missile.
Mavericks were giving laser precision.
Early as 1944, the first American air defense missile had been conceived by Fort Bliss officers. A brand new kind of unit was activated at Fort Bliss, organized specifically for missile research and development.
Welcome to Fort Bliss, Texas, the gateway to the West and the only U.S. Army training facility that can accommodate every weapon system in the Army.
From pistol to missile, you can do it all here on the Fort Bliss training area.
We like to say that Fort Bliss is El Paso and El Paso is Fort Bliss.
They have really complemented and supported our mission out here on the U.S.-Mexico border. Many of the men and women serve overseas. This is yet another assignment for them here.
The climate and geography are very similar to that of the Middle East and provide for realistic wartime training.
These volunteer DoD units gain phenomenal training against a thinking and adaptive adversary and brings the full spectrum of DoD capability against the threat posed by cross-border organizations.
Handed me this sheet of papers, and in it was every movement I had made for the past week, like left house at 9 o'clock a.m.
Maybe 80% of the time with surveillances on his girlfriends.
To control them, to possess them, to have them in his power. Now, a person who feels like that about eyes, being such destructive element of control, possession, obviously will be afraid of being looked at.
The super secretive celebrity who went all out for world fame, won it, and then got to be more famous trying for privacy.
Among the first of our projects was to be a
story based on the fictionalized life of a certain famous tycoon.
Here they are, 15,000 miles around the world.
King of distance flying, annihilator of space.
All records crumble. It's New York to New York.
Why did we change our minds? Change tycoons? As a character in fiction, who could believe that a man like Howard Hughes could exist?
As far as we know, this is the biggest CIA covert operation that they've ever run.
All across the country today, Americans were debating the value of the Glomar Explorer, the ship Howard Hughes built for the CIA, a $250 million intelligence gathering project to raise from the ocean floor a Russian submarine.
Hunt for Red October was the perfect cover story for the K-129. The CIA does a number of books. They're called company books. When they need to have information released, they get people like Clancy to write books under the permission of the agencies.
We worked with Hollywood and TV and print media.
Popular culture was now being used by the American military to turn the secrets game upside down.
That's how the whole Cold War ended.
Early Bird is one of many contributions to space defense and industry of Hughes Aircraft Company, creating a new world with electronics.
At the same time, we want you to realize that it was, of course, purely fictional.
And then the lights come on, and the cops are coming, and they've got shotguns and all this stuff. They walk Oswald out of the front, and that's where the pictures are taken of Oswald being taken out.
But this is the alley behind the Texas Theater, where two other witnesses said they saw Oswald put in a police car, driven away.
The Texas Theater was opened in Dallas in 1931. It was actually financed by Howard Hughes.
The Empire seems to have a life of its own. Does it, in fact, make any difference whether Howard Hughes is alive or dead?
There are many of his top executives who have been with him for 25-plus years who have never seen Mr. Hughes. Was it all a charade? Was he ever there? I don't believe so.
April the 5th, 1976. Howard Hughes is taking his last flight. He will die in the air before the plane touches down in Houston.
18,000 feet, there's not much sensation. It's so far above the earth.
It's got a very funny feeling. Like if I was to let myself go, it'd disappear.
I suggest that people who have strayed from the road go to Waco Caves and sacrifice your Everest, and come back to the sacred place again. This is what sacred places do. They restore to the person something that they may have lost, like spirit.